Good morning, everybody. And in case you didn't know who that lovely lady was, that's Liz Sills, who, when we're not asking her to serve in community processes, gets to spend a little bit of her workday at Kaiser Permanente. And many of you know that Liz, in her capacity as co-chair of the project, was joined by Vanessa Cooper, who, when we're not asking her to serve in community events, works at the Housing Authority. And unfortunately, Vanessa is ill today and couldn't join us. We're very happy to be here in Mountain View, because Mountain View is an important piece of what drives Silicon Valley. We're also really happy that the mayor of Mountain View, Mike Kasperzak, has joined us. So, Mike, where are you? Thanks for coming. And as Liz mentioned, there are all of you are special guests, and we really do appreciate your involvement in helping to make this a stronger community. So let me get one thing clear right from the get-go. For everyone who was expecting me to go through a 50-slide PowerPoint, forget it. Okay, that's not what we're going to do this morning. All right. And you will notice that you have not been given a copy of that executive summary, because we want you to pay attention to the speakers. Okay? But when you leave, my colleagues will be distributing that, so everybody gets to take one with you. And the reason that on the side screens we have the homepage for the Community Assessment Project up there is because we really take seriously our commitment to make available to you everything that we have collected. So when you go back, you're going to sign into this homepage. You're going to look for the orange button that will show you the executive summary, but in the upper right across the top bar, you will see that button that says Findings, and that's the button that's going to tempt you to go deep into what we gathered. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about what we learned. All right? So some key themes emerged, and they are here. First and foremost is this notion that if anything's going to be different in Silicon Valley, it's going to be up to us. Right? So when we talk to people, we learn people love living here. Right? There's a reason that most of us have stayed here, is because there's a lot of attributes. We also learned a number of other things. When we ask people, like, who do you trust to make things better? Who do you trust to take action? We didn't hear people say government, nonprofits, in corporations, United Ways, foundations. We heard people say, you know, anything's going to be different, it's probably going to be up to us. So then what we tried to do is we tried to look at sort of what was underneath what people were thinking and feeling. The first theme that we came up with was this notion of longing for, we call it longing for a sense of community. Another way to say it is, who are my neighbors, and what exactly is my community? So in the public opinion survey, a majority of people said, yeah, you know, I feel like my neighborhood has a pretty strong sense of community. Yet, more than a quarter of the phone respondents and more than 40% of the online respondents painted a different picture. What people told us in the surveys was that they get their strongest connection to their family and friends. And given that 40% of us were born in another country, and a whole other group of us were born in another state, a lot of that connection is with people who don't even live in the area. We also heard people say that, you know, they have strong connections with the people that they work or go to school with. And in terms of geography, people's strongest expressed affinity was about being a part of the Bay Area, this large thing called the Bay Area, not necessarily their city or their neighborhood. I wanted to share with you a couple of quotes that we think really capture exactly what some of that sentiment is. First one is, there's none of that I got your back here. I've got to fend for myself, and I think that's why this community is not connected. Another person said, why is it that when the Giants win the World Series, there is a strong sense of community? Why can't we have that pride or sense of community just by living in the great place that we live? Another person said, we need to look in the mirror and see the part that we play in this. I haven't knocked on my neighbor's doors and introduced myself. I need to start with myself and what I can do to fix that. We also heard that despite our preconceived notions, only 38% of us feel like we get a sense of connectedness and community from those online social groups that we belong to. We also learned that while faith-based organizations can be really helpful to create connections for some people, we have extremely low regular church-going attendance compared to the US, 24% versus 41%. And then we also heard, as part of this sense of not a lot of trust in institutions, we heard people, we know that our area is part of a long-standing national trend that the Pew Research folks have identified, where people just don't have a lot of trust in institutions. Nationally, Pew says only 20% of the public has trust in government, that they will do the right thing most of the time. And then locally, we discovered that only 20% of people have trust in nonprofits. We also heard that only half of our population has a high degree of trust in the police, and that the other half of the population has at least some, if not a lot, of skepticism. And it was younger residents, people of African American, Asian, and Hispanic heritage, and people born in other countries who had significantly less trust. The next theme, plenty of financial insecurity to go around. What we discovered was that, no surprise to all of you, because I can tell that you feel it as well. Nearly everyone is feeling insecure when it comes to finances. 60% of the phone survey respondents and many people in the conversations reported feeling stressed primarily over finances. It's the highest cause of stress among all the options that we gave people on the survey. And the interesting thing was that this held true across all the demographics and all the socioeconomic groups. Additionally, more than a quarter of the phone survey respondents and more than a third of the online survey respondents said if they get into a jam, they don't have anyone to turn to for financial help. And when we ask people not only what contributes to your quality of life, we also ask them what takes away. 1 in 4 people said it was fundamentally the high cost of living that takes away from that quality of life. A couple of quotes I want to share with you. One person said, "A 2-income family doesn't even guarantee stability. You might be okay if you don't get sick or injured, but if you do, you are done in this area." Another person said, "By the time you reach 40 or 45 years of age, you're old in this valley. People don't feel that secure in high tech." Another person said, "I don't think you can be stable, not with the high tech industry. Nothing is stable here." The next theme, and that is that we are, and part of it, we are now looking at this community being part of an ever-evolving, changing demographic story. We are uniquely diverse in many ways, and surprising to those of us who continue to hang on to our youth, we are growing older fast, all right? Census forecasts say that we're going to go from being about 15% of elderly to 25% of people elderly within the next dozen years. A greater portion of our children will be born in ethnically diverse heritage families. Working age adults, while growing and projected to grow in numbers, will actually become a reduced share of the overall population. And an obvious takeaway from that is that more relevant and more competent services must be available in order for our community to respond to those continuing demographic changes in a positive and healthy way. A couple of quotes I want to share. "There are so many cultures represented here. Immigrant stories are rich, but I doubt that people know about this." Another person said, "Because of language barriers, we can't really share information. So maybe there are things going on that I don't even know that are happening." And then another person said, "Who is going to take care of me when I am really old and need help? My kids and the grandkids all live back east." And then the final theme I want to talk about is is about the disparities and how it's an invisible divide for many people, and how these disparities create a vastly different experience for many people within our community. Age, education, ethnicity and race, and income are the strongest correlative factors with quality of life and satisfaction. Older, higher educated, white, higher income groups, no surprise, are those people who expressed in the surveys that they are most satisfied with their quality of life. Half of lower income residents, 1/3 of Hispanics, and 1/3 of foreign-born residents, again, report having no one to turn to for financial assistance. And 1 in 5 people in the surveys reported that they themselves had experienced discrimination or being treated unfairly in the past year. Who were most likely to report that? Was younger people, Hispanics, African Americans. They reported a much higher rates of discrimination. A couple of quotes I want to share with you. One person said, honestly, the reality is that the affluent parts of this community are very disconnected from the community that is not so affluent. There are things available for certain parts and nothing available for others. Another person said, the Vietnamese community is closed. The Mexican community is closed. We are segregated by neighborhood, and I don't know what to do. Another person said, I want a community with better teachers, supplies, and textbooks for all the kids. I want a community with less discrimination between our different school districts. And so with that, I hope that we have piqued your interest in what we have discovered. So again, let me reiterate. There are a lot of great things in this community. You all know that. And what we heard from talking to people in the variety of places that we did was that people would like to see it get even better.